Hi guys, welcome back. Another knife review, and this time the return of an icon, and an icon that I never got to the first time around. So some of you will know the Civivi Elementum gained pretty much cult status on the sort of budget friendly side, you know, the more affordable knives, which really pushed the envelope for affordable knives that met really good high quality standards and were absolutely a joy to use. And we've reviewed a few of such knives on the channel now. Some would argue the Civivi Elementum kind of kicked that off. There were some other knives that were in a similar vein, and you know, that will be up for debate, but this is certainly an icon. As you guys know, Civivi is owned by We Knives. They've got a history of producing some really high quality stuff. The We Knives tend to be on the higher side of the price range with, you know, more exclusive materials and higher end blade steels and stuff. And then the Civivi brand was bought out to kind of supplement that with stuff that people like me can afford to buy on a regular basis on a normal man's wage. So the original Elementum was a flipper knife in D2, and it just had a really nice simple form factor that people fell in love with. This is the Elementum 2, and it's got the button lock. I think they do a standard version as well, but I prefer a button lock version. So let's take a look, see what we find. So this one is the button lock 2 Elementum, black G10 handle, and then the model number is C18062P1. And in here we have the little Civivi pouch with a zipper on it. We've got a product warranty guide and a little cleaning thing there. Little guide on the Elementums, a couple of stickers in there, and then we have the knife itself. So in form factor, very similar to the original. Got that C for Civivi on the pivot, as one might expect. We've got a flipper tab there, a deep carry pocket clip, and then this is all blacked out, so it's everything blacked out on there, the bolsters, the whole lot. Still liners in there, all blacked out as well. Jimping on the back of the blade, and a blacked out blade. Now really smooth action, and deploys beautifully, just like the originals. That's what got people's attention with these two to start with, just that beautiful action on them. Very smooth indeed, and it's that nice simplistic blade shape that made these iconic, and that is because you have a caged ceramic ball bearing in there, so that's giving that nice smooth action. And it's a little bit more controlled than the Pyrite. We'll take a look at those two in a minute, but if you let it go, it does just drop straight down very easily, but not quite as sort of floppy as the CJRB Pyrite is. So there's just a tiny bit, and you can actually control it a little better just by letting that button on and off. So if you don't want it to sort of flop straight down, just give the button a quick press to drop it, and then if you release the button, it actually just controls it on the way down there. Lanyard hole at the back. So what are the main differences with this one and the original? Well, the big difference is the blade steel. The original was D2 blade steel, and this one is Nitro V, which is definitely a step up in blade steel, and they didn't step up a huge amount in price, if at all. I see on the Civivi website they've got this advertised at about $76, so it's around the sort of same ballpark. Obviously you can find deals and stuff if you look around on these, but certainly around about the same as the original, not a huge amount of difference. Very smooth function on that button, and the button is nice and easy to operate. It's got a little bit of a recess there, so it's not too difficult for my big fat fingers to fit on. And flipper tab also serves as a tab as usual to protect your fingers and stop you slipping up the knife. You've got a bit of jimping on the back of that flipper tab there, so on one hand that gives you a little bit of something to work with at the front as you flip, and then it serves as just a little bit of extra grip once you've got your finger in place at the back. And then of course, as mentioned, we got that jimping on the top. The jimping on the top is well done. It's not too rough, it's not hurting your fingers at all, and it certainly gives you plenty of traction. You don't have a particularly a forward choil as such to put your finger in, but you can actually place your finger in there and work up there if you want to choke up and do a bit of finer work. You would just have to be a little bit careful that you're not going to slip up and cut yourself on that edge, and really that's more of a sharpening choil there. So there's plenty of blade to play with if you start sharpening it and wearing things down a little bit. Steel liners which have all been skeletonized and cut out, so it keeps the weight down, and the weight is very reasonable, coming in at 3.12 ounces or 88.5 grams. In part that's because the blade is pretty slicey. It's only 0.12 inches thick, 3mm at its thickest. So it's a very, very usable blade indeed. It's got G10 scales, which feel just fine, and also of course help to keep the weight down. And they've got these available in loads of different colours. They've got black, OD green, twill, then like an ivory colour. They've got jade, all kinds of things going on, and they're all about the same price there. So it really depends on your personal preference. I actually really like this all black model, looks pretty cool. Unlike some button locks, it does provide a pretty good amount of tension to keep that blade in there, so it's not going to flop open in the pocket. The button spring is actually providing tension to that consistently, so you have to really mean it to actually want to get that thing out. It's detained in there very nicely, and then you just overcome it with that flipper to draw the thing out. So let's have a bit of a size comparison. We've got our Benchmade bug out there, which we had a look at. So they're not a million miles apart. Bug out is just slightly longer and a tiny bit thinner. Obviously very, very light knife, and you can see the difference in width there on those two. That's why the bug out weighs hardly anything, because they've just taken away all the extra materials. But similar blade style, similar shape. Then of course the real comparison, we've got the CJRB Pyrite compared to the Elementum button lock, or the Elementum 2. So you can see the Pyrite is just a tiny bit bigger in form factor. Obviously this one weighs quite a bit more because of the material that I selected. It's the steel handle, all steel in fact. And the main difference with these two, you do have thumb studs on that one and no flipper, whereas obviously no thumb studs on that one and a flipper. So again, very, very similar blade shapes. You've got more of a forward choil on there, but other than that, incredibly similar blade shapes. This one's maybe got a little bit more belly in it. Thickness not far off at all, and I'll show you what I mean by closing up. So you close this one up, you can see it falls very, very readily, and that one is just a little bit smoother on the drop, and that's really down to personal preference. Some people love that just immediate fall there of the Pyrite. It just feels like there's nothing holding it at all once you've released the button, as compared to that, which is just a bit more sedate. Not much. It still drops under its own accord. On this one, if we drop it and release the button, you can't really stop it from falling. It does a tiny bit, whereas this one, if I just quickly press the button in and bring it back out again, it'll actually stop it from falling. So if you wanted to have a bit more control over that when you were putting it away and you didn't want it just dropping shut, you can control that a little bit better if you so wish. A slightly deeper pocket clip there on the Pyrite, but there's not that much in it, probably a couple of millimeters at most. But this one is certainly the lighter of the two. Be interesting to see if you got a Pyrite with the sort of G10 scales on it, if they would match up. The Pyrite does have an option to put the pocket clip on the other side. This one does not. You've only got one choice with that, and like I've always said, I'm a lefty, and I always keep these as the pocket clip comes in them. I never change them over anyway. I just carry them in my left side pocket, and as I'm drawing them out, they come out like so, and then I'm actioning them. So I don't have any issues with those in the left hand. A great little knife, as one would expect. You know, this is a legendary design. It will continue to be very popular. I will certainly be using it a lot. It will go in my carry of alternate things that I keep on my person for work, and this will be a joy to use, I'm sure. I've been using it a bit over the last couple of weeks, and I've had no issues with it whatsoever. Very quick and easy to use, quick and easy to clean. The quality of manufacture is excellent, as you would expect from a company owned by We Knives. You can see blade centering is bang on, no issues with any of that, and it locks up just fine. There's no movement on there at all. Is it sharp? Let's take a look. Guys, that is absolutely razor sharp. I would say that's probably in the top 3 sharpest knives I've ever tested out of the box. So well done on sending that out. Razor sharp, guys. A lot of knives I have to touch up to get them sort of hair shaving sharp, but this one out of the box was absolutely amazing. And we'll just have to see over time how that Nitro V stands up. But I've used that blade steel before, never had any issues with it. It's been a really good performer, so I don't foresee having any issues with this one. Guys, I'll stick the details down below for the links to the Civivi website, so you can buy one of these yourself. Like I said, they're super affordable. No reason why anyone couldn't get hold of one of these. I'll see if I can stick a link down there to the UK side as well. Maybe I'll have to find another seller in the UK that you guys can visit, because it will be much easier if you can buy these directly from someone selling them in the UK, just for the fact that it has got that flipper tab on, and there's all this kind of messing about with people saying, oh, the flipper tab, you know, that's a problem. Like I said before, I don't believe it is. I've had a knife with that tab returned to me by customs after I argued the point with them. So I'm pretty confident that they're okay to order in the UK, but you might find yourself up against it with customs if they decide to be difficult and take it. So it's probably worth ordering them from a UK company if you can. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day. Take care. I'll speak to you all soon.